The Grand Arrival. The vast expanse of space around Nexus Station glittered with the lights of 1,000 alien vessels. The Galactic Concordance exhibition, held once every century, had drawn representatives from every corner of the known universe. Sleek ships of crystalline beauty drifted alongside massive organic vessels that pulsed with bioluminescence. It was a breathtaking display of the galaxy's diversity and technological marvels. Amidst this cosmic spectacle, a hush fell over the gathered aliens as a new arrival appeared on the edge of the system. The ship that emerged from the swirling vortex of faster-than-light travel was unlike anything they had ever seen. Its hull gleamed with a pearlescent sheen, its lines both elegant and intimidating. This was the HSS Odyssey, humanity's flagship and pride of the Terran Confederation. On the bridge of the Odyssey, Captain Elena Santos stood with her hands clasped behind her back, a small smile playing on her lips as she observed the reactions of the alien vessels. "Looks like we've made quite an entrance," she murmured to her first officer, Commander Zhen Chen. Chen nodded, his eyes scanning the myriad of alien ships surrounding them. "Indeed, Captain. I'm detecting a significant spike in communications chatter among the other vessels. They seem impressed." Santos allowed her smile to widen. "Good. That was the idea. Humanity may be new to the galactic stage, but we're here to show that we belong." She turned to her communications officer. "Lieutenant Patel, please hail Nexus Station. Let's make our presence official." As the Odyssey approached its designated docking area, alien spectators pressed against viewports and crowded observation decks. The human ship dwarfed many of the other vessels, its size alone a testament to humanity's rapid technological advancement since joining the galactic community. Aboard Nexus Station, Ambassador Lyra Tezevi of the Azrian Collective watched the Odyssey's approach with a mixture of awe and concern. The iridescent scales along her neck fluttered in agitation as she turned to her aide. "This changes everything," she said softly. "The humans were barely capable of interstellar travel a few decades ago. How have they progressed so quickly?" Her aide, a younger Azrian named Vex, flicked his tongue nervously. "Perhaps we underestimated their potential, Ambassador. The data we're receiving from our scans, it's unprecedented. Their energy output alone surpasses anything in our records." Lyra's compound eyes narrowed. "We must tread carefully, Vex. The balance of power in the Concordance is delicate. This human ship, it could tip the scales." As the Odyssey completed its docking procedures, Captain Santos prepared to lead her delegation onto Nexus Station. She adjusted her uniform, a sleek design that combined practicality with an unmistakable air of authority. "Remember," she addressed her team, "we're not just representing Earth. We're here on behalf of all humanity and our allies. Let's show the galaxy what we're capable of." The airlock cycled open, and Captain Santos stepped onto Nexus Station, her crew following close behind. They were greeted by a diverse assembly of alien dignitaries, each more exotic than the last. At the forefront stood a tall, willowy being with skin that shimmered like the surface of a soap bubble. "Welcome to Nexus Station, Captain Santos," the being said, its voice a melodious trill. "I am High Arbiter Zilvan of the Galactic Concordance. We are honored by your presence at this exhibition." Santos bowed slightly, a gesture of respect she had practiced for weeks. "The honor is ours, High Arbiter. Humanity is grateful for the opportunity to participate in this grand tradition." As pleasantries were exchanged, Santos couldn't help but notice the mix of curiosity and wariness in the eyes of the alien representatives. She knew that the Odyssey's arrival had sent shockwaves through the galactic political landscape. Humanity, once dismissed as a primitive species barely worth notice, had announced its presence on the cosmic stage with undeniable force. The exhibition's opening ceremony was a dazzling display of alien artistry and technology. Holographic displays showcased the achievements of 100 worlds, while anti-gravity platforms allowed visitors to experience environments from across the galaxy. Through it all, the human delegation moved with purpose, engaging in conversations and forging new connections. As the first day of the exhibition drew to a close, Captain Santos found herself on an observation deck, gazing out at the Odyssey. The ship's presence among the alien armada was a powerful symbol of how far humanity had come. "Quite a sight, isn't it?" a gravelly voice said from behind her. Santos turned to see a reptilian being, its scales a deep emerald green. "I am Dractor, military attaché of the Saurian Imperium. Your ship, it is most impressive." Santos nodded in acknowledgement. "Thank you, Dractor. The Odyssey represents the best of human ingenuity and determination." The Saurian's vertical pupils dilated slightly. "Indeed, one can't help but wonder what other surprises your species might have in store for us." As Santos engaged in diplomatic small talk with Dractor, she couldn't shake the feeling that beneath the exhibition's veneer of cooperation and cultural exchange, currents of tension were building. The Odyssey's arrival had changed the game, and not everyone would be happy about it. Little did she know that far below the glittering surface of Nexus Station, in shadowy corridors and hidden chambers, forces were already at work, plotting to ensure that humanity's moment in the galactic spotlight would be short-lived. Diplomatic tensions. The second day of the Galactic Concordance exhibition dawned with an air of anticipation. The initial shock of the Odyssey's arrival had given way to a buzzing curiosity among the alien delegations. Captain Santos and her crew found themselves at the center of attention as they made their way through the sprawling exhibition halls of Nexus Station. Lieutenant Commander Aria Navarro, the Odyssey's chief science officer, was in her element. Her eyes sparkled with excitement as she engaged in rapid-fire discussions with alien scientists, trading theories, and comparing technological advancements. "The potential for collaboration is astounding," she reported to Captain Santos during a brief respite. "There's so much we can learn from each other." Santos nodded, pleased by Navarro's enthusiasm, but also mindful of the bigger picture. "Keep up the good work, Aria. But remember, we're not just here to make friends. Every interaction is a diplomatic opportunity." As if to underscore the captain's point, a commotion erupted near one of the exhibition's central plazas. Santos and Navarro hurried to the scene, where they found Commander Chen engaged in a heated discussion with a group of Volcran delegates. The Volcrans, silicon-based life forms known for their logical minds and fiery tempers, were gesticulating wildly with their crystalline appendages. "What seems to be the problem here?" Santos asked, her voice cutting through the tension. Chen turned to his captain, his usually calm demeanor showing signs of strain. "The Volcrans are accusing us of technological espionage, Captain. They claim our quantum entanglement communicator is based on stolen Volcran designs." Santos raised an eyebrow, keeping her voice level. "That's a serious accusation. I assure you, our technology is the result of human innovation, not theft." The lead Volcran delegate, a being that looked like a walking geode, emitted a series of sharp clicks and whistles. The universal translator rendered its words with a metallic edge. "Your assurances mean little, human. The similarities are too great to be coincidental. We demand an investigation." The confrontation was drawing a crowd, and Santos knew she needed to defuse the situation quickly. "I understand your concerns," she said, addressing the Volcran delegate directly. "We take such allegations seriously. I propose we convene a neutral panel of experts to examine both our technologies. If there has been any impropriety, we will address it. But I am confident you will find our work to be original." The Volcran's crystalline surface shimmered, a sign of intense thought. After a moment, it inclined its upper portion in what passed for a nod. "Acceptable. But be warned, if our suspicions are confirmed, the consequences for Earth will be severe." As the crowd dispersed, Santos pulled Chen aside. "Well handled, Commander. But this is troubling. We need to get to the bottom of this accusation." Chen's brow furrowed. "I'll contact Earth immediately, Captain. We need to review the entire development process of the quantum entanglement communicator. If there's even a hint of truth to the Volcran's claims." Santos shook her head. I can't believe that's possible, but we need to be certain. In the meantime, let's try to smooth things over with the other delegations. We can't afford to let this incident overshadow our presence here." Throughout the rest of the day, the human delegation worked tirelessly to maintain positive relations with the other species. They showcased Earth's unique cultures, shared tales of human history, and demonstrated some of their less controversial technological achievements. Many alien representatives were genuinely fascinated by humanity's rapid progress and adaptability. However, beneath the surface of polite interactions, Santos could sense a growing undercurrent of unease. Whispered conversations would stop abruptly when humans approached. Certain delegations, like the isolationists' Cathar Hive, seemed to be actively avoiding contact with the Odyssey's crew. As evening approached, Santos was invited to a private meeting with High Arbiter Zilvan. The Arbiter's chamber was a marvel of alien architecture, with walls that seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal. "Captain Santos," Zilvan began, its voice carrying a note of concern, "I must speak frankly. Your ship's arrival has caused quite a stir among the Concordance members. Some are impressed, even eager to forge closer ties with Earth. Others, well, they see your rapid advancement as a potential threat." Santos nodded, having expected something like this. "We understand that our presence here is disruptive, High Arbiter, but we come in peace, seeking cooperation and mutual understanding." Zilvan's skin rippled, a sign of agitation. "Noble sentiments, Captain. But you must understand the delicate balance we maintain here. Some of the elder races fear that humanity's ambition may upset millennia of carefully cultivated stability." "With all due respect, High Arbiter," Santos replied, her voice firm but respectful, "progress cannot be halted simply to maintain the status quo. Humanity has much to offer the galactic community, just as we have much to learn." The High Arbiter was silent for a long moment, its iridescent form shimmering in the chamber's soft light. "Perhaps," it finally said, "but tread carefully, Captain Santos. Not all share your optimism. There are factions within the Concordance who would see humanity contained rather than embraced." As Santos left the meeting, her mind raced with the implications of Zilvan's warning. The exhibition was meant to be a celebration of galactic unity and progress, but it was becoming clear that darker currents were swirling beneath the surface. Returning to the Odyssey, Santos called an emergency meeting with her senior staff. As they gathered in the ship's secure conference room, she looked at each of them in turn. Commander Chen, his face etched with concern. Lieutenant Commander Navarro, still buzzing with scientific excitement, but tempered now by the day's events. Chief of Security Malik Omega, his cybernetic eye scanning the room for threats both real and potential. "Ladies and gentlemen," Santos began, her voice grave, "we have a situation on our hands. It seems our presence here has stirred up more than just curiosity. We're facing diplomatic challenges, accusations of espionage, and now potential threats to Earth itself." She outlined the day's events, including her conversation with High Arbiter Zilvan. As she spoke, she could see the weight of responsibility settling on her crew's shoulders. "So what's our next move, Captain?" Omega asked, his hand unconsciously moving to the sidearm he wasn't currently wearing. Santos took a deep breath, her mind already formulating plans. "We continue our mission. We're here to showcase the best of humanity, and that's exactly what we'll do. But we also need to be vigilant. Commander Chen, I want you to discreetly reach out to any allies we've made here. See if you can gather more information on these factions," the High Arbiter mentioned. Chen nodded, already making mental notes. "Navarro, continue your scientific exchanges, but keep your eyes and ears open. If anyone's planning to move against us, they might let something slip in the heat of academic discussion." "Understood, Captain," Navarro replied, her earlier enthusiasm now tinged with determination. "And Omega," Santos turned to her security chief, "I need you to quietly enhance our security protocols. If someone's planning to contain humanity, they might start with this ship." As the meeting adjourned, Santos stood at the viewport, gazing out at the glittering expanse of Nexus Station and the alien fleet beyond. The Odyssey had come here to mark humanity's arrival on the galactic stage. Now it seemed they would have to fight to keep that place. The exhibition was far from over, and Santos had a feeling that the real challenges were just beginning. But as she watched her crews spring into action, each member focused and determined, she felt a surge of pride. Whatever the galaxy might throw at them, humanity would face it head-on. Little did they know that the true test of their resolve was about to begin, as unseen forces set in motion plans that would shake the very foundations of the Galactic Concordance. Sabotage strikes. The third day of the Galactic Concordance exhibition began with an air of unease. The diplomatic tensions of the previous day had cast a shadow over the proceedings, and Captain Santos could feel the weight of countless alien eyes upon her as she led her delegation through Nexus Station's bustling corridors. Status report. She murmured into her communicator, her voice low enough not to be overheard by passing aliens. Commander Chen's voice crackled through the secure channel. Nothing concrete yet, Captain, but there's definitely something brewing. I've picked up chatter about closed-door meetings between some of the more conservative factions. Santos frowned. Keep digging, Chen. We need to know what we're up against. As the day progressed, the human delegation continued their efforts to showcase Earth's achievements and foster goodwill among the alien species. Lieutenant Commander Navarro was in the midst of a presentation on human advances in sustainable energy when the first sign of trouble appeared. The holographic display she was using suddenly flickered and died, plunging the presentation chamber into darkness. Confused murmurs rippled through the alien audience. Just a minor technical glitch, Navarro said smoothly, her training kicking in. If you'll bear with me for a moment. But as she attempted to restart the system, nothing happened. The advanced alien technology, which had been functioning flawlessly until now, remained stubbornly inert. Before Navarro could call for technical assistance, the lights in the chamber began to flicker ominously. A low hum filled the air, rising in pitch until it became a painful whine. Aliens of various species clutched at their auditory organs, their faces contorted in discomfort. Everyone out, Navarro shouted, taking charge of the situation. She helped guide the disoriented aliens towards the exit, her own ears ringing from the increasingly unbearable noise. As they spilled out into the corridor, they found chaos unfolding across Nexus Station. Emergency lights pulsed an angry red, and the station's AI was issuing evacuation orders in a cacophony of alien languages. Captain Santos' communicator crackled to life. Captain, this is Omega. We've got a situation. Multiple systems across the station are failing. It's not just us. Every species tech is going haywire. Santos's mind raced. This was no coincidence. Omega, get our people back to the Odyssey. Now, Chen, I need you to coordinate with station security. Find out what's going on and see if we can help. As Santos made her way through the panicking crowd, she caught sight of Ambassador Lyra Tzevi of the Azrian Collective. The alien diplomat's scales were flashing in distress patterns. Ambassador Tzevi, Santos called out, pushing through the throng. What's happening? Lyra's compound eyes fixed on the human captain. Chaos, Captain Santos. The station's primary systems are failing. Life support, gravity control, even the containment fields for some of the more exotic exhibits. If we don't regain control soon. She didn't need to finish the sentence. Santos understood the implications all too well. Nexus Station housed representatives from thousands of worlds, many with wildly different environmental needs. If life support failed, the death toll would be catastrophic. We need to get to the central control hub, Santos said decisively. The Odyssey's systems are still operational. We might be able to help stabilize the station. Lyra hesitated for a moment, then nodded. Lead the way, Captain. I'll use my authority to get us access. As they fought their way through the panicked crowds, More reports of malfunctions poured in. Gravity began to fluctuate wildly in some sections of the station, sending aliens of all species tumbling through the air. In others, atmospheric controls went haywire, filling corridors with noxious gases or bone-chilling cold. They reached the central control hub to find it in disarray. Alien technicians frantically worked at malfunctioning consoles, their efforts hampered by systems that seemed to actively resist their commands. "Let me through," Santos ordered, her voice cutting through the chaos. "I've got a direct link to the Odyssey. We might be able to establish a stable connection and regain control." As Santos interfaced her communicator with the alien systems, she became aware of a presence at her side. A tall, insectoid being loomed over her, its mandibles clicking in agitation. "The human ship," it chittered, its translator struggling to keep up. "It is the only vessel unaffected by this calamity." How convenient. Santos felt a chill run down her spine that had nothing to do with the malfunctioning environmental controls. "What are you implying?" she asked, her fingers never pausing in their work. "Perhaps," the insectoid continued, its compound eyes glittering, "this is all part of a human plan. Create a crisis, then swoop in as the saviors. A bold move to establish dominance in the Concordance." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the control room. Santos could feel the weight of suspicious alien gazes upon her. "That's absurd," she snapped, even as she redoubled her efforts to stabilize the station. "We're here as guests and allies. Why would we endanger ourselves and everyone else?" But she could see the doubt in the aliens' eyes, the Odyssey's surprising resilience in the face of this crisis, coming so soon after their dramatic arrival, was feeding into the fears and suspicions that had been simmering beneath the surface. Just as the tension in the room was reaching a breaking point, Santos' communicator crackled to life. "Captain," came Commander Chen's voice, tight with urgency. "We found something. There's a foreign device interfaced with the station's main computer core. It's like nothing we've ever seen before." Santos's heart raced. This was it. Proof that neither humans nor any known species was behind the sabotage. But before she could relay this information, a violent tremor shook the station. Warning klaxons blared as a new, even more urgent message blasted through the station's speakers. "Warning. Containment failure in Sector 7. Xenomorph specimens breaching quarantine. All personnel evacuate immediately. This is not a drill." The blood drained from Santos's face. Sector 7, she remembered from the station briefing. It housed some of the most dangerous and exotic life forms in the known galaxy, brought to the exhibition for scientific study. And now they were loose. As panic erupted anew around her, Santos made a split-second decision. "This is Captain Elena Santos of the HSS Odyssey," she announced, her voice ringing with authority. "All species, all factions. This is bigger than our differences. We need to work together now, or we all die. Who's with me?" For a moment, there was silence. Then, one by one, alien representatives stepped forward. Ambassador Tizadi, her scales shimmering with determination. The insectoid being that had accused her moments before, now clicking its mandibles in what might have been embarrassment. Others followed, a rainbow of alien life united in the face of crisis. "Right," Santos said, a grim smile on her face. "Let's save this station and everyone on it. Then we can worry about who's really behind all this." As the unlikely alliance began to form around her, Santos couldn't help but feel a spark of hope. Whatever forces were working against them, whatever shadowy conspiracy had engineered this disaster, they had failed in one crucial aspect. Instead of dividing the species of the galaxy, his crisis was bringing them together. The real challenge was just beginning. Hostile aliens were loose on the station. Vital systems were failing, and somewhere out there, the true saboteurs were still at large. But as Santos looked at the determined faces, human and alien alike, around her, she knew they had a fighting chance. With a nod to her new allies, Santos strode towards the exit. It was time to take the fight to whoever was really behind this. The galaxy was watching, and humanity was about to show exactly what it was made of. Uncovering the plot. The corridors of Nexus Station had become a battleground. Emergency force field generators, hastily deployed by the Odyssey's engineering team, created safe zones amid the chaos. Within these shimmering barriers, representatives from a dozen species huddled together, united by their shared peril. Captain Santos stood at the heart of the impromptu command center they had established in the station's secondary control hub. Holographic displays flickered around her, showing the status of various sections of the massive structure. Red warning indicators flashed across nearly every level. "Report," Santos barked, her eyes never leaving the tactical display. Commander Chen stepped forward, his usually immaculate uniform now scuffed and torn. "We've managed to stabilize life support in most critical areas, Captain. The Volcran delegation has been instrumental in restoring power to key systems." Santos nodded, a grim smile on her face. The silicon-based lifeforms, who had been so suspicious of humanity just days before, were now working tirelessly alongside her crew. "What about the containment breach?" she asked, dreading the answer. This time, it was Ambassador Tzavi who responded, her scales flickering with a mix of fear and determination. "The situation in Sector 7 is problematic. We've managed to seal off the primary escape routes, but several xenomorph specimens are still unaccounted for." A ripple of unease passed through the assembled aliens. The creatures that had escaped were nightmarish predators, collected from the most hostile environments in the galaxy. Each was perfectly evolved to hunt and kill. "We need to focus on two objectives," Santos announced, her voice steady and authoritative. "First, we continue the evacuation of non-essential personnel to the Odyssey and other intact ships. Second, we form search and destroy teams to hunt down the escaped specimens." She turned to the insectoid being that had accused her earlier. She now knew him as Sixtal, security chief of the Hive Collective. "Sixtal, your people are natural hunters. Can you lead one of the search teams?" The alien's mandibles clicked in what might have been appreciation. "It will be done, human captain. We shall prove our worth in this hunt." As the various teams began to assemble, Lieutenant Commander Navarro burst into the command center, her eyes wide with excitement despite the dire situation. "Captain, we've made a breakthrough." All eyes turned to the science officer as she activated a holographic display. A strange, almost organic-looking device appeared, rotating slowly in the air. "This is what we found interfaced with the station's main computer," Navarro explained. "It's not just a simple sabotage device. It's alive, in a sense, a techno-organic construct that's been actively adapting to our countermeasures." Santos frowned, studying the bizarre apparatus. "Can you shut it down?" Navarro shook her head. "Not remotely. We need direct access to the main computer core. But here's the thing, Captain. This technology, it's not like anything we've ever seen. It's not Volcran, not Azrian, not from any known species in the Concordance." A murmur ran through the assembled aliens. Ambassador Tzavi's scales paled. "Are you suggesting an unknown species is behind this attack? Or a hidden faction?" Santos mused, her mind racing. "Someone with access to technology beyond anything in known space." She straightened. Decision made. "Navarro, you're with me. We're going to the main computer core. Chen, you have command here. Coordinate the evacuation and containment efforts." As Santos and Navarro prepared to leave, Sixtal stepped forward. "Human captain, allow me to accompany you. My exoskeleton provides natural armor, and my sensory organs may detect threats your technology misses." Santos nodded, grateful for the alien support. As the unlikely trio made their way through the station's winding corridors, they encountered scenes of both horror and hope. In one section, they found a group of small, amphibious aliens trapped in a rapidly draining aquatic habitat. Quick thinking and some creative use of the Odyssey's emergency force field saved the grateful creatures. In another area, they came across the grisly remains of those who had fallen victim to the escaped xenomorphs. Santos gritted her teeth, her resolve hardening. Whoever was behind this attack had much to answer for. As they neared the central computer core, Sixtel suddenly froze, his antennae quivering. "Danger," he chittered. "Approaching fast." No sooner had he spoken than a dark shape detached itself from the shadows ahead. A xenomorph, its exoskeleton glistening and its razor-sharp teeth bared, launched itself at the group. Santos reacted on instinct, drawing her sidearm and firing in one fluid motion. The energy blast caught the creature in mid-leap, sending it crashing to the floor. But even as it fell, two more emerged from side passages, back to back. Santos shouted. Navarro and Sixtel pressed against her, forming a defensive triangle. The xenomorphs circled, their movements liquid and predatory. What followed was a desperate battle. Santos's energy weapons spat bursts of searing light, while Sixtel's natural weapons, razor-sharp appendages and corrosive spit, kept the monsters at bay. Navarro, armed with a makeshift flamethrower cobbled together from station equipment, provided crucial support. When the last xenomorph fell, its exoskeleton smoking from multiple hits, the trio stood panting in the sudden silence. "Impressive, human captain." Sixtel clicked, a new respect in his compound eyes. "Your species fights with unexpected ferocity." Santos managed a grim smile. "We're full of surprises. Now let's get to that computer core before any more of those things show up." They reached the core chamber to find it already occupied. A figure stood before the pulsing heart of Nexus Station's computer, its form obscured by a shimmering energy field. As Santos and her companions burst in, the figure turned. "Ah, Captain Santos," came a familiar, melodious voice. "I had hoped you would join us." Santos felt her blood run cold. "High Arbiter Zilvan, you're behind this." The shimmering being that had welcomed them to the exhibition now regarded them with cold detachment. "Not behind it, Captain. Merely facilitating. You see, humanity's rapid rise has upset a delicate balance. There are forces in this galaxy far older and more powerful than you can imagine. Forces that see your kind as a threat to be eliminated." As Zilvan spoke, more figures emerged from the shadows. Alien Santos recognized from the exhibition, but now their forms seemed to shift and change, revealing monstrous aspects beneath familiar facades. "We are the Guardians," Zalvan continued, its voice taking on an otherworldly resonance. "We have guided the evolution of this galaxy for eons, and we have decided that humanity's time is over before it has truly begun." Santos raised her weapon, acutely aware of how outmatched they were. But as she prepared to go down fighting, her communicator crackled to life. "Captain." It was Chen's voice, tight with excitement. "The Odyssey's sensors have detected a massive energy buildup in your vicinity. Whatever's happening there, it's affecting subspace itself." Santos's mind raced. Subspace fluctuations, technology beyond anything known, beings that could shake the evolution of entire species. The pieces clicked into place. "You're not from this universe, are you?" she said, her voice steady despite the fear gripping her heart. "You're from somewhere else, somewhere outside normal space and time." Zilvan's form shimmered, a hint of surprise in its ethereal features. "Impressive deduction, Captain. Perhaps we underestimated your species after all. But it changes nothing. The die is cast. Humanity will fall, and the galaxy will continue on the path we have laid out for it." As the being spoke, the air around them began to warp and twist. Santos could feel reality itself starting to fray at the edges. They were out of time. But even as despair threatened to overwhelm her, Santos felt a surge of determination. Humanity had faced extinction before, had clawed its way up from a single world to touch the stars. They wouldn't go down without a fight. "You want to see what humanity's really capable of," she growled, her finger tightening on the trigger. "Then let's show them, shall we?" With a primal yell, Santos charged forward, Navarro and Sixtel at her side. As energy weapons flared and reality itself seemed to warp around them, the fate of not just humanity, but the entire galaxy hung in the balance. The final confrontation had begun, and the universe would never be the same again. Humanity's triumph. The air crackled with energy as Captain Santos and her unlikely allies faced off against the beings that called themselves the Guardians. Reality itself seemed to bend and warp around them, the laws of physics straining under the weight of the otherworldly powers at play. "You cannot hope to defeat us." Zilvan's voice resonated, no longer melodious but filled with eldritch power. "We have guided the destiny of galaxies for eons. Your species is but a cosmic blink, a mistake to be corrected." Santos gritted her teeth, her mind racing. They were outmatched in raw power, but humanity had always thrived on beating the odds. "Maybe we can't beat you in a straight fight," she said, her voice steady despite the fear coursing through her. "But that's not the human way. We adapt. We improvise. We overcome." With a quick nod to Navarro and Sixtal, Santos launched into action. As energy blasts from the Guardians' weapons warped the space around them, the trio split up, using the chaotic environment to their advantage. Navarro sprinted towards the computer core, her fingers flying over her datapad. "Captain, if I can interface with the station's systems, I might be able to disrupt whatever they're doing." Sixtal, meanwhile, used his species' natural camouflage abilities to blend into the shifting shadows, striking at the Guardians with lightning-fast attacks before disappearing again. Santos herself charged straight at Sylvan, dodging blasts of energy that could unmake her very atoms. "You say you've guided evolution," she shouted as she closed the distance. "Then you should know. Evolution favors those who can adapt." In that moment, as if in response to her words, something extraordinary happened. The Odyssey, still in orbit around Nexus Station, fired a tightly focused beam of energy directly at the computer core chamber. The beam punched through the station's hull, somehow avoiding all vital systems, and struck Santos. But instead of vaporizing her, the energy suffused her body, filling her with power she could barely comprehend. In that instant, But instead of vaporizing her, the energy suffused her body, filling her with power she could barely comprehend. In that instant, she understood. The Odyssey's systems, guided by Chen, and the combined efforts of the alien allies they'd made, had found a way to channel the same otherworldly energy the Guardians were using. Santos felt her consciousness expand, touching the very fabric of space-time. She saw the strands of reality that the Guardians manipulated, and with a thought, she reached out to grasp them. "Impossible." Zalvan's voice boomed, a note of fear creeping in for the first time. "How can you wield this power? You are not one of us." Santos smiled, her form now shimmering with the same ethereal energy as the Guardians. "That's humanity's greatest strength," she said, her voice echoing with newfound power. "We're not bound by what should be impossible. We make the impossible possible." With a gesture, Santos created a shield of pure energy around Navarro, protecting her as she worked feverishly at the computer core. Sixtal, seeing his human ally transformed, redoubled his efforts, his attacks now guided by Santos' expanded perception. The battle that followed defied description in normal terms. Reality itself became a weapon, with pockets of space and time twisting and colliding. Santos found herself not just fighting in the present, but across multiple potential futures and even in echoes of the past. Through it all, she held on to her humanity, her determination to protect not just Earth, but all the species that had come together in the face of this crisis. This, she realized, was the true power that the Guardians feared, not humanity's technology or adaptability, but their capacity to unite others, to form bonds across the boundaries of species and cultures. As the conflict reached its peak, Navarro's voice cut through the chaos. "Captain, I've done it. I've isolated their control over the station's systems." Santos nodded, understanding instantly what needed to be done. With a thought, She connected her consciousness to the station's computer core, using it as a conduit to reach out to every ship and every species represented at the exhibition. Her voice, carried on waves of subspace energy, reached every mind on Nexus Station and beyond. People of the galaxy, hear me. We face a threat not just to humanity, but to the freedom of all species. The Guardians would keep us confined, controlled, unable to reach our true potential. But together, we can forge our own destiny. As she spoke, Santos felt the minds of countless aliens touch hers. She shared with them the truth of the Guardians, the power they wielded, and the future they sought to enforce. But more than that, she shared the human spirit, the drive to explore, to connect, to grow beyond imposed limitations. The response was overwhelming. Across Nexus Station, and from ships in orbit, aliens of all species lent their support, not with otherworldly powers, but with the strength of their united will. Scientists contributed their knowledge, warriors their courage, diplomats their wisdom. The Guardians, for all their power, found themselves faced with something they had never encountered before, a united galaxy, standing as one against their manipulation. "This is not possible," Zulvin cried, its form flickering as the combined will of the galaxy challenged its power. "We are eternal. We are destiny itself." "No," Santos countered, her voice firm. "You are the past. We, all of us, every species here, we are the future, a future we'll build together, without your guidance or control." With a final, monumental effort, Santos channeled the combined energy of the unified galaxy. Reality seemed to hold its breath for a moment. And then, the Guardians' forms began to unravel, their connection to this plane of existence weakening. "This is not the end," Zulven's voice echoed as it faded. "The universe is vaster than you know. We will return." And then they were gone. The otherworldly energy that had filled the chamber dissipated, leaving behind a profound silence. Santos felt the power leave her body, and she stumbled, suddenly exhausted. Navarro and Sixtall were at her side in an instant, supporting her. "Captain," Navarro breathed, her eyes wide with awe. "What you did, it was incredible." Sixtall's mandibles clicked rapidly, his version of a nod. "You have shown us the true strength of your species, human captain. It is most impressive." As the immediate danger passed, the full scope of what had occurred began to sink in. The Galactic Concordance exhibition, intended as a showcase of cosmic unity, had become something far more profound. In facing extinction, the species of the galaxy had found a unity that transcended political alliances or technological achievements. In the days that followed, as Nexus Station was repaired and the full story of the Guardians' plot emerged, a new era dawned for the galaxy. The fear and suspicion that had greeted humanity's arrival were replaced by respect and a desire for closer cooperation. The Odyssey, once seen as a potential threat, became a symbol of the new galactic order. Captain Santos and her crew were hailed as heroes not just by humanity, but by countless alien species. As Santos stood on the observation deck of the Odyssey, watching the myriad alien ships preparing to depart Nexus Station, she felt a profound sense of hope. The path ahead would not be easy. There were still threats out there, still challenges to face, but they would face them together as a united galaxy. Commander Chin joined her at the viewport, a rare smile on his face. "Orders, Captain." The crew's eager to know our next mission. Santos turned to her first officer, her eyes gleaming with the same spirit of adventure that had first brought humanity to the stars. "Tell them to prepare for departure, Commander. We've got a whole universe to explore, and I have a feeling our journey is just beginning." As the Odyssey's engines hummed to life, Santos took one last look at the assembled alien fleet. In that moment, she knew that whatever the future held, humanity had found its place among the stars. They had not just arrived on the galactic stage. They had changed the very nature of the play itself. With a small smile, Captain Santos gave the order. "Take us out, Helm. Let's see what's out there." The Odyssey moved gracefully away from Nexus Station, its hull gleaming in the light of alien suns. As it accelerated into the depths of space, it carried with it the hopes and dreams of not just humanity, but of a united galaxy, ready to write the next chapter of cosmic history together.